දුර නොදුර කරනා එතෙර මෙතෙර වෙලෙනා පුබුදා නැනමනා යුදුම් යන මග විඩා නිවනා
විශ්වය සිසාරා විශ්වවාහිනී.
Hi, welcome back to Vishvavahini. My name is Lochana Pereira. They say you are what you eat. Somehow, I don't believe that, but it's my belief, it's not a fact. So why don't we ask an expert? I have here today, all the way from Brisbane, Dr. Sakda Dharmadasa. Hi.
Hi, how are
Welcome.
you? Thank you.
How
thank
are
you.
you going?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Lochana?
I'm good, thank you. So you work in Greenslopes Hospital in Brisbane?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
As can you explain?
Yes, I have been living in Melbourne for 13 years. My background was initially as a research doctor.
Yeah.
I did my PhD in neuroendocrinology, specializing in obesity, weight loss, and stress.
Yeah.
Looking at therapeutic strategies to curb obesity.
Right.
And then I moved to Brisbane to work as a medical doctor. And as you rightly said, I'm working as a medical doctor in Greenslopes
Hospital.
Brisbane.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Sakda, I like to educate the viewer because I was a bit confused about when I was writing these questions. One question I've always thought to ask you.
Yeah.
Obesity and overweight, are they two different things or are they similar? According to WHO, overweight is a BMI greater than or equal to 25 and obesity is a BMI greater than or equal to 30.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Firstly, well done on doing some research on this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look, so BMI is the body mass index.
Right.
Yeah. So do you know what a body mass
No,
index
I
is?
don't.
So essentially what a body mass index is, you get someone's body weight.
Yeah.
It's actually the body mass. So you get someone to stand on the scale and get their body mass. Let's say someone's body weight is 100 kilos or something, and then you measure their height, okay, and get their height in meters,
Yeah.
and then you get a ratio of their body mass and divide by their height, okay.
Right.
So it's a mass to their height ratio,
Right.
and
okay.
then the number that you get has to be between 20 and 25 to be in normal weight category.
Right.
Okay, so if the number is between 20 and 25, that means you are in normal weight category. Okay, so if the number is between 25 and 30, that's when you are overweight.
Right.
Okay,
So, obesity
is over 30. Okay,
right. Obesity
yeah.
is over 30.
Okay, and
All
then you can go on saying that if it is over 35, you're slightly obese, and then you're mildly obese,
Yeah.
and then morbidly obese or severely obese, like that.
Yeah.
So that's a criteria that we use as both as scientists and clinicians
Okay.
to categorize someone based on their body weight to
Right.
see how overweight or obese someone is. Yeah.
So it's like I said initially, it's not always. I don't believe that, but I want the facts. It's because you are a doctor, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
It's, people don't have to believe what I believe. So people say you are what you eat, but it's not the case, right? Not always. Always the case.
You mean in terms of their body weight?
Yeah.
Look, it depends on, obviously, what you eat helps in your body weight.
Yeah.
But that is only part of your energy equation. Your body weight depends on two facets. it's you can imagine it as a scale.
Yeah.
So on one side of the equation you have energy intake. So that's what you are rightly saying as what you eat.
Yeah.
But then there's also energy expenditure as well. So you can imagine some people who eat fast food every day, and then they don't necessarily get overweight or
Yeah.
obese. So some of them might be having a high energy expenditure.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't put on weight.
High energy
Expenditure.
as in they burn.
They burn more calories.
Right,
So
okay.
again, I mean, we can talk about this topic forever.
Yeah.
But due to interest of time,
Yeah.
I'll tell you that when you think about energy expenditure, people always think that that means that we need to get out of the house and go for a run. But that's only one part of energy expenditure.
Yeah.
Right now, while we are sitting here
Yeah.
talking, we are expending energy, because we need to maintain our body temperature at 37 degrees,
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's, maintaining our body temperature, we call it the basal metabolic rate, for example,
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the scientific jargon, but
yeah, so just
there's-
because we are sitting down
doesn't mean
we are
that
not
no, we are burning
Okay,
calories
all
to
right.
maintain our body temperature at a mean temperature, and by fidgeting around here and just moving here, moving up and down, exactly,
Yeah.
we are
We are
burning temperature
something,
as well. We call
yeah.
it NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Right.
So and then we also do exercise on top of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be going to the gym. So there's different ways that we burn calories. So all together, we put together and we call it energy expenditure.
Right.
So what we eat is obviously going to be affecting our body weight,
Yeah.
but it also depends on our energy expenditure as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so because we had COVID and everything, we were talking about sitting down just
Yeah.
a minute ago.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, do you think that because people work from home, do you think that there are more people with obesity now in Australia, let's say? So do you know the rate, obesity rate, the data?
Oh, it's interesting because, well, as I said, this is my pet area of research. This is what I've been doing at Monash Uni for the past 5 years or 6 years. If you look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics,
Yeah.
they say that if you look at the 2018-2019 data, they say that in Australia, 2/3 of the Australian population is either overweight or obese. So, so that's 67% of the whole Australian population is either overweight or obese.
That is shocking.
So if we both walk down the streets now, every second person out of the 3 people that we meet, every 2 out of the 3 people that we meet is either overweight or obese. So that's a significant burden to our healthcare system.
That is
So
shocking.
including both of us.
Yeah.
So it's a huge burden. So and that numbers will only increase, or would have increased, given working from home and not being able to go out and exercise
Yeah.
and all that.
So just because you walk, like you said, that we are burning at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's not enough.
Not enough. Yeah.
Obviously,
So
yeah.
and as you rightly said, because people have been working from home, there have been studies done by. Have you heard of the CSIRO?
Yes.
It's one of the leading research facilities here in Australia. They've done a survey, has found out that they
Because of COVID.
COVID that
working from home.
more than 1/3 of the population that they've surveyed
Yeah.
thought that they gained weight, during these COVID times because
Yeah.
they worked from home. Okay, and I also found an article recently from a clinical dietitian. Okay, who said that every 7 or 8 out of the 10 patients that
Yeah.
he gets complained that they were gaining weight. Okay, there's this concept, that very interesting concept that our viewers might be interested in knowing, is this concept of mindless eating. Now, do you know about this mindless eating concept?
No.
This is a very
Not
interesting
sure.
concept, because I'm pretty sure when we talk about this, our viewers might be able to reflect on this, is that when you work from home, you're at a screen,
Yeah.
staring at a screen every day. What you do is that you work at staring at the screen,
Yeah.
you keep munching on
Yeah.
the chips
Yeah.
because you are bored looking at the screen.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
do this 24/7. Before you know it, you put on so much weight.
It's like you're not eating knowingly, like
Exactly.
you sit down
Exactly.
at the table and you
Exactly.
have lunch. This is my lunch time, I'm going to have lunch. It's not like that, mindless. You just keep eating, looking at the screen. Yeah,
Exactly.
I get it.
It's mindless eating. So,
Yeah.
and it's a
bad.
concept. And on top of that, you have your regular meals as well. You have your morning tea, afternoon tea, and your snacks as well. It's only going to increase your weight. So you're perfectly right.
Yeah. So I
Quite
know
times.
that some people, Sakda, they eat well balanced, healthy meals, and they, as yet, they are overweight. How do you explain that? I mean, is it genetic or?
Look, again, obesity is multifactorial.
Yeah, like you
so
said before, yeah.
obesity is multifactorial now, which means that monogenic forms of obesity are quite rare. So what that means is that obesity resulting from single gene mutations are quite rare.
Right.
Now, we are composed of more than 20,000 genes.
Yeah.
Okay, all of us have more than 20,000 genes. Now, obesity due to a single gene mutation, for an example. Now, again, I can't talk too much scientific
Yeah.
terms here. A very simple example is a POMC gene mutation or a leptin gene mutation. For all those who are interested in, science behind this, is a perfect example of a single gene mutation causing obesity.
Yeah.
But that's quite rare.
Right.
But most of us that we see around in our society, that we see are obese, are due to polygenic mutations, which means there are multiple gene interactions that have caused them to, make them gain weight.
Gain weight,
And also, our phenotype, or what we see as a final product in our society,
Yeah.
is not simply just due to genes, it's just due to our environment as well.
Right.
So
okay.
just because we have a strong genetic predisposition,
Doesn't-
just because we inherit, let's say, bad genes from our
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
we can't always blame our parents.
Yeah. No.
If we have a good diet,
Yeah.
or if we can go to the gym, or even if we go down for a walk every day,
Yeah.
or if we do that, we are not going to gain fat.
Yeah.
So
gain weight,
yeah, so obesity is multifactorial.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, it's
yeah.
not one thing. Yeah.
It's not one fact. Yeah, that's why it's multifactorial.
So, talk about depression.
Yep.
I know that overweight or obesity can lead people to go through depression. So, can depression, let's say that someone is not overweight, but she or he is going through depression. Can depression how should I ask that?
You mean, can depression cause obesity?
Exactly. Can it gain weight
Look,
because of depression?
look, you keep coming up with all these fantastic questions. Look, when a patient comes to us to a clinic,
Yeah.
one of the key criteria questions that we ask, one of the key
Yeah.
screening questions that we ask, we call it the Dsm criteria, is weight changes, and appetite changes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, you're right. So if someone's depressed, they can either increase their appetite or decrease their appetite.
There's
So
nothing in the middle.
there's nothing in the middle. Well,
There might
I can never say
Yeah.
no.
Yes, yes,
But
of course.
usually, people tend to gain weight because they tend to overeat
Yeah.
or sleep,
Yeah.
and then gain weight, and then not go out for walks or exercise or anything like
Yeah.
that. So yes, obviously depression can cause weight gain,
Okay.
and also what we found out is that with depression and especially with stress, what I found out through my research is that people are more likely to eat palatable food. So we call it the comfort food hypothesis. So the foods that are highly enriched in sugar, fat, and chocolates,
yeah.
salt. So when you are under stress and depression,
Yeah.
you tend to reach out for those types of food. The last thing you want to eat is a salad. That doesn't make you happy, right? You would rather go out and eat drink a hot chocolate, or go for a fries or something like that. That
Yeah.
makes you happy.
Yeah.
And there's a reason behind that as well. Because those foods affect the reward pathways in our brain.
Right.
Especially the mesolimbic neural pathways in our brain. Again, not going into the the jargon behind
Yeah.
that, but it improves your dopamine levels in specialized areas of the brain called the ventral tegmental area of our brain. And that sort of projects to where our stress responses are in the hypothalamus of our brain.
I'm trying to understand that. But
I'm just telling it
Yeah.
to the people who might be interested in.
Yeah.
But in essence, what this tells us
Yeah.
is that whenever you eat all this comfort food,
Yeah.
the foods that we talked about, it makes you happy,
Yeah.
and that makes us predisposed to this vicious cycle.
Right. Right.
Every time you get depressed or stressed, you reach out for these comfort food.
Yeah.
That makes you happy, and that reduces your stress.
Yeah.
And then you go around in a loop cycle, and before you know it, you've gained this weight.
Yeah.
And gaining weight is one thing, but what is the end result? You have high chance of developing
Yeah.
type 2 diabetes,
Yeah.
high cholesterol levels.
I
you
was
know.
going to ask you
Yeah.
actually. I'll get to that in a
Yeah.
minute. I want to find out which. Okay, let's say that obesity and depression, someone has both. So how do you treat people with who have both? Like first treat for depression, then obesity, or it's both the same time?
Look, it's
hard, isn't it?
it's a very tricky question, because obviously if someone's showing symptoms of depression, again we need to attack it in few different ways.
Yeah.
So they need psychotherapy. Now
Yeah.
what that means is that they need to see a psychologist or a clinical psychologist. They need to see their GP first.
Right.
They need to have a mental health care plan, and they need to start therapy with the psychologist. It could be cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever it is. Without going into detail, they need to have some form of psychotherapy. But then there's also medications to help depression. I will not go into details about what medications there are.
Yeah.
But then there are also antidepressants that we use that can cause weight gain as well as a result. So again, look, these medications, all these medications have side effects. So one such medication, just because I mentioned it, like for example, sertraline or mirtazapine that we use, can cause weight gain. So that
Catch-22,
look,
like,
it's
damn if you do, damn if you
yeah,
don't.
of course,
know?
So, but that's why you need to continuously talk to your GP or
Yeah.
your psychiatrist, and if it doesn't work, or if you have all these adverse side effects, you need to change the medication or find a therapy that works for you. So
for
it's
your
not
body.
like one size fits
Yes,
fits all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it has to be an individualized,
Yeah.
personalized therapy for each person. And then when it comes to obesity treatment, again, I'm sure our viewers many of them who are overweight and obese would have tried the diet, you know,
Yeah.
who have seen dietitians, you know, that's a great way to start, you know, go and see a dietitian,
Yeah.
you know, and then you doing exercise and everything. But then there are other medications as well. I don't know whether we can talk about medications, or if you want to talk about later, we can do it.
Yeah, we will
Yeah.
actually. So you were actually you started to say this. I actually thought I'll get into that later. So what are the consequences of obesity other than high blood pressure and stroke? That's
So those are like key,
High blood
you
pressure
know,
and stroke,
high blood pressure and stroke.
Yeah.
Diabetes, you know,
Yeah.
type 2 diabetes is another, you know, a key, you know, a medical condition that you can develop. And high cholesterol levels, or hyperlipidemia we call it. And then obviously cardiovascular disease, you know. So, you know, we often refer to it as heart attacks. You
Yeah.
know, so you can get a heart attack or myocardial infarction, we call it, you know. So because, you know, when you're obese, you develop all these medical conditions.
Overweight
Yeah.
and obese or both? From
Overweight.
both?
So if you remember how we
Yes.
discussed
Yes.
earlier, overweight is actually the pathway to
To
becoming obesity.
obese.
And
Yeah.
then if you leave it untreated, you are more likely. It doesn't mean that if every overweight or obese person, I think we need to tell the viewers that
Yeah.
not every overweight and obese person will end up getting diabetes and end up getting a heart
Yeah.
attack, you know.
Yeah.
You are more likely, you know, you are
Likely,
more
okay.
predisposed to, you
Yeah.
know, getting a heart attack or a stroke. Certain types of cancers, you know, for an example, colon cancers, you know, and osteoarthritis, because you've got severe weight gain,
Yeah.
because all these joints, like especially like your knee joints, your ankle,
Because of the weight that you're carrying.
exactly. So there's a lot of wear and tear. So later on, you know, when you're aging, your bones, you know, will start, you know, wearing away,
Yeah.
and there's osteoarthritis. And there's also research to show that obesity has a link with early onset Alzheimer's disease and dementia as well. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
those are to name a few. Yeah.
So this, I know this for a fact actually. So especially in Sri Lanka, a lot of parents take their kids to first aid food outlets after school. I have seen it in my own eyes.
Okay.
So many school kids
Yeah.
in fast food outlets after school. I think they are taking them for private tuition or something after, so they don't go home.
It's a big
This
thing
is
in
a
Sri
big
Lanka.
no-no, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
big no-no. Both are big no-nos, I think. Both private tuition and, you know, yeah, they
That's a good one. I like
they
that.
overdo it, you know.
Yeah.
Those children have no life in Sri Lanka, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's pretty much the case here in Australia as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think what happens is that those children, before I get to that, I had a look at one of the studies that was done in 2019. Just to get the stats right, they found that in urban Sri Lanka, so not in a rural setting, so in urban setting, most probably in, you know, let's say Colombo, Kandy, you know, all these settings, childhood obesity, there's a prevalence of 10%. So that means 1 in 10 children had, you know, obesity there.
So when was this?
2019,
Okay.
and overweight prevalence of 11.3%. So Sri Lanka is going up there as well. So that's compared to Australia, that has childhood obesity a percentage of 25%. So we are still doing better, Sri Lanka, but we are catching up. You
So
know.
this is before the COVID.
This is before COVID, yeah. So
I know that children learn from home as well. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
before the COVID.
yeah.
They didn't. They went to school.
Yeah. So,
So-
I mean, initially obesity was thought to be, you know, a problem that was, you know, associated to economically more developed countries, but now with all globalization and everything, as you rightly said, we have access to all these fast food outlets and everything, not naming any brand names, but, you know, mothers, they find it very easy to, you know, send them to all these, you know, get them through drive-through, get them, you know, all this food.
so busy.
Exactly.
And, running all the time and,
Exactly.
competition
No,
and
yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
Just,
No, and that comfort food hypothesis, accept,
Yeah.
will get to those kids as well. They get so used to eating those foods that they'll be so happy with that. Their bodies will get used to it.
And also, it's easy for parents,
Yeah.
rather than taking them home and then, or actually they can cook a meal and bring it
Yeah.
if they have to go for tuition rather than taking to,
Yeah.
buying them fast food. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Not related to this topic, but it's one of the reasons, because it's one wonderful observation that you did.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why, because fast foods lead to higher levels of body fat,
Yeah.
and when you have higher levels of body fat,
Yeah.
that causes you to reach puberty at an earlier stage. That's one of the reasons why, if you look at Sri Lankan, children reach puberty at a younger age now. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons.
One of
Yeah.
the reasons.
So
Okay.
I know that it's not related to one of the topics today.
Yeah, but still,
yeah, because
it is
we
related.
if you look at their body fat levels,
Yeah.
that's high, because that increases your leptin levels, and that affects your hypothalamus. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, what advice would you give the maybe parents, especially, or our younger generation, or their, their parents, because they are the one who cook food for the kids, or they are the one who takes young kids, I mean. And also maybe you can tell teenagers what they should, they should eat and should not eat, or you can give some advice to parents.
Look, I think obesity is a global epidemic now. So earlier scientists were worried to label this as an epidemic. Now we have labeled this as an epidemic. We need to fight this in a multimodal way. Diet is one thing. I'm not saying that every day you need to eat 5 veggies and 2 fruits.
Yeah.
It's good if you can do it,
Yeah.
but it's good in textbooks and in websites. Not everyone can have access to it, but you should try to have good nutrients and get good exercise as much as possible. But then you need to avoid this unnecessary mindless eating, even at home, irrespective of whether it's COVID or not.
Yeah.
Stick to your meal times.
That's
Have a separate place where you have meals, and separate place where you watch TV or computers. Because if you watch your TV and start eating, because you unnecessarily eat more food,
Yeah.
because
Still
it's
it's
mindless
yeah.
eating.
Yeah.
And then there's new therapies now for obesity. Anyone who's obese, there are new therapies on the market for obesity. So today we didn't have time to talk about those therapies.
That's okay. You can tell. You said that earlier when we
Yeah.
in the lobby. There are medication. For
Yeah,
obesity.
so look, so in Australia, the TGA has approved a few medications for obesity. Orlistat is one medication that's in Australia. It prevents your fat absorption from your GI system. So that's been around for some time. Phentermine is one medication that you can use for obesity.
So obviously they have to talk to
Their GP,
definitely, yeah.
But my most favorite drug that I've also looked at during my research is liraglutide. Initially looked at for type 2 diabetes. It's a GLP-1 analog. The only thing is you have to use it as an insulin injection. Like an insulin injection, it's a subcut injection.
Right.
But it's probably the best in the market. because it's shown to be the best, for weight loss. But the only thing is it's not on the PBS, which means it can cost up to $380 a month. But for all those who are obese,
You mean $380?
a month? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, because it's not subsidized, it's not PBS.
Right,
Yeah, but it's probably the best to do. And then for all those who are migraine sufferers, who are on Topamax or topiramate, might know that topiramate is probably a good drug. Is well known to cause weight loss as well. So there are medications that are around for weight loss as well.
Yeah.
And if you are morbidly obese,
Yeah.
and if you've got severe health compromise,
Yeah.
I think surgery is probably the best way to go through
Yeah.
it. There's bypass, gastric bypass, or gastric gastric bands and things like that. So there is help out there. I think the best advice I think I can give to
Yes.
viewers is you need to have your GP.
Yeah.
You need to have your own GP. Rather
Talk
than
to your GP,
talk to your GP, rather than doing GP shopping, as we call it.
and don't Google.
Don't
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
Google symptoms, because you can Google your headache and
Dr.
come up
Google.
with Dr. Google.
Yeah.
You can Google your headache and come up with like a brain tumor or something. I've had patients coming to me and saying, I might have a brain tumor because I've got a headache. So
you
Yeah.
probably ask, where did you get
yeah,
that from?
so because
I
you can
Googled
Google
it.
anything,
I-
So you need to have your own GP.
Yeah.
Or if you can't access one GP, at least two maximum, and talk to them. Your GP should be your friend, and there is help out there.
Yeah.
And we are there to help you guys. Yeah.
I learned so much, Sakda. Honestly, there's so many things that I didn't know. You educated the viewer. So thank you so much
No
for
problem.
coming. And
Yeah.
I will actually see you next year.
No problem. Yeah, thank you.
Dr.
Thank you very much.
Sakda.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
a
you.
lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching.
Vishvavahini.